Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on Newsfirst, where the people come first. You're joining me, Naveksha Gunasekara. Let's start off by taking a look at your headlines.
India celebrates 75 years of independence. Modi says country eyeing developed tag in 25 years. India hands over Dornier reconnaissance aircraft to Sri Lanka. Chinese research vessel Yuanwang 5 enters the sea of Sri Lanka. Breakdown at the Norachole power plant. Power outages extended. Runukumari derails in Busa. Aragalaya activist Danis Ali granted bail. Venerable Omalpe Sobitathera's warning to the President.
මේ වත්මන් ජනාධිපතිතුමා ප්‍රධාන සියලුම දෙනා කරන්නේ භයානක වූ අරගලයක් දිනෙන් දින වර්ධනය කිරීමයි. ඒ අරගලයේ ප්‍රතිඵල මේ අරගලයේ ප්‍රතිඵලවලට වඩා මහත් විනාශකාරී විය හැකියි.
The top story this evening, India handed over a Dornier maritime surveillance aircraft to the Sri Lanka Navy to further boost bilateral defence partnership. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe was present at the handover ceremony that was held to coincide with India's 75th anniversary of its independence.
Sri Lanka officially welcomed the Dornier reconnaissance aircraft gifted by India earlier today at the Katunayaka International Airport, graced by the President. The Sri Lankan President was awarded an Air Force Guard of Honour and he was accompanied by the Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, and Defence Secretary, Retired General Kamal Gunaratne.
This aircraft is a 228 aircraft.
The President and the Indian High Commissioner inspected the Dornier maritime surveillance aircraft after it was officially handed over to Sri Lanka. Earlier this year, Sri Lanka was in talks with India to acquire 3 Dornier aircraft for the Sri Lankan military, and the first delivery was made today when India ushered in its 75th year of independence. The first ever Dornier reconnaissance aircraft from India to enhance maritime surveillance capabilities of Sri Lanka was inducted to the Sri Lanka Air Force fleet today in a ceremonial procession. During the defence dialogue between India and Sri Lanka on the 9th of January 2018 in New Delhi, the government of Sri Lanka sought the possibility of obtaining 2 Dornier reconnaissance aircraft from India. The government of India has agreed to provide 1 Dornier 228 maritime patrol aircraft from the Indian naval fleet on gratis basis for 2 initial years of the interim period, since it would be required for 2 years to manufacture a new aircraft. The aircraft will be flown and maintained only by 15 Sri Lanka Air Force crew who were specifically trained in India for a period of 4 months. The Indian High Commissioner tweeted that the gift of Dornier to Sri Lanka Air Force is an example of India's strength, adding to the strength of its friends and neighbours, including those in the Indian Ocean region and the Bay of Bengal, such as Sri Lanka. Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle has noted that security of India and Sri Lanka is enhanced by mutual understanding, mutual trust and cooperation, adding that the gifting of the Dornier 228 is India's latest contribution to this cause. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe had noted that India and Sri Lanka have no separate paths and both nations have a common ground. The President also pointed out that Sri Lanka and India are 2 sides of one coin. He noted that history has united India and Sri Lanka and therefore it should be the same in the future.
Addressing the nation from the Red Fort as India celebrated its 75th year of independence, Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid special emphasis on the dignity of woman power. Listing out 5 pledges to fulfill freedom fighters' dream for India, he said, and I quote, "It's important that in speech and conduct we do nothing that lowers the dignity of women."
This year, India is celebrating its 75th year of independence. The reign of the British Crown and its oppression of Indian citizens lasted for nearly 200 years. It was a long struggle and freedom movements by Mahatma Gandhi that led to independent India. The 2022 celebrations had started with Prime Minister Modi's visit to Rajghat, where he paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi. After arriving at the Red Fort, he examined the inter-services and police guard of honor and hoisted the national flag. Made in India, ATAGS howitzer fired the 21-gun salute on the Independence Day this year at the Red Fort in Delhi. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 75th Independence Day of India said the country must become a developed nation before it marks the centenary of independence. Narendra Modi, leading the celebrations, set the people of India a series of goals over the next 25 years. He said for India to achieve the goals envisioned by its freedom fighters in the next 25 years, women have to play a critical role. In his address, Prime Minister Modi called upon the people to move forward with 5 pledges to fulfill the dreams of freedom fighters by 2047, a theme President Draupadi Murmu had also underscored in her speech on the eve of Independence Day.
130 crore countrymen, after several decades of experience, have shown the world the importance of a stable government, the power of political stability, policies, and how trust develops in the policies. The world too is now realizing it, and we must take up the responsibility of fulfilling all the dreams of the freedom fighters by embracing those Panch Pran by 2047, when the country celebrates 100 years of independence. The first vow is for the country to move ahead with a big resolve. The second is that no part of our existence should there be any ounce of slavery. The third is that we should feel proud of our heritage and legacy. The fourth is unity and solidarity. The fifth is the duty of the citizens. This virtue is going to be the vital life force if we want to achieve the dreams we have for the next 25 years. We have been casually using language and words that are insulting to women. Can we not pledge to get rid of everything in our behavior, culture, and everyday life that humiliates and demeans women? Women's pride is going to be a huge asset in fulfilling the dreams of the nation. I see this power, and therefore I am insistent on it. I also call upon the private sector to come forward. We have to dominate the world. One of the dreams of a self-reliant India is to ensure that India does not lag behind in fulfilling the needs of the world.
75 साल के बाद जब हम अमृत काल की ओर कदम रख रहे हैं,
Indian Army troops recited the national anthem at the Siachen Glacier after unfurling the national flag on the occasion of the 75th Independence Day. The Indo-Tibetan Border Police personnel has scaled 75 peaks simultaneously today as Mission Amritarohan and hoisted national flags atop those 75 peaks as a distinguished record. In a first, the government has also allowed people to display the flag at their homes for 3 days. Extensive security arrangements have been made across the national capital. More than 10,000 personnel have been deployed to guard the Red Fort in a multi-layered security cover. Cameras capable of facial recognition have been installed at entry points. The International Space Station also added its wishes from outer space in lieu of India's Independence Day.
Celebrations for 75 years of independence of India took place in Sri Lanka as well.
The Indian High Commission in Sri Lanka marked 75 years of independence in Colombo under the auspices of High Commissioner Gopal Bagle.
This grand festival is going ahead with the Har Ghar Tiranga Abhiyan. The Indian tricolors are fluttering in every nook and corner of the country. Great martyrs would have been thrilled to see the spirit of the independence movement coming alive again on such a massive scale.
The 75th Independence Day celebrations of India also took place in Jaffna under the auspices of Consul General Rakesh Nataraj. Sri Lankan High Commissioner to India Milinda Moragoda attended the celebration at the Jindal Global University to mark India's Independence Day. Former President Maithripala Sirisena had extended his wishes to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on India's 75th Independence Day celebrations. Sirisena states that at a time when Sri Lanka is passing through extremely difficult times, the support given by the government of India can never be forgotten. Maithripala Sirisena noted that his expectation is that both countries will work diligently to work with greater understanding than before in security and economic cooperation in the Indian Ocean region as well as in neighbouring relations.
Pakistan Navy ship Taimur, which arrived at the port of Colombo on an official visit, left for Karachi today.
Pakistan Navy ship Timur, which arrived at the port of Colombo on an official visit on the 12th of August 2022, set sail from the island after successful conduct of a passage exercise with Sri Lanka Navy ship Cinderella today. Sri Lanka Navy bid customary farewell to the departing ship in accordance with naval traditions at the port of Colombo. Subsequently, PNS Timur conducted the passage exercise with SLNS Cinderella of Colombo harbour on her departure. As such, the two ships conducted manoeuvring and search and rescue exercises off Colombo harbour. Sri Lanka Navy said that exercise of this nature will pave the way for regional partners to enhance interoperability, partnerships and goodwill, as well as exchange best practices with foreign navies when responding to common maritime challenges.
In more headline-making news, the Yuan Wang 5, a Chinese research and survey vessel that led to much controversy in recent weeks, officially entered the Sea of Sri Lanka today.
The Yuan Wang 5, one of China's latest generation survey vessel, officially entered Sri Lanka's exclusive economic zone, or the Sea of Sri Lanka, today. The Yuan Wang 5 is expected to dock at the Hambantota port at 7:30 AM tomorrow and will remain there for 7 days for replenishment purposes. Sri Lanka granted permission for the high-tech Chinese tracking vessel Yuan 5 to dock at the Hambantota port in a backdrop marred with controversy. Diplomatic clearance for the Chinese vessel to make a port call at the Hambantota port from the 11th to the 17th of August this year for replenishment purposes was granted by the Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs. However, due to concerns raised by various factions, including India, the ministry requested China to defer the visit of the said vessel to the Hambantota port. However, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs did not provide any reason for the request. When the request to defer the visit of the vessel was made, the Yuan Wang 5 had already set sail to Sri Lanka, leaving its port of origin on the 14th of July and was already in the Indian Ocean. The vessel thereafter slowed down and moved over the 90 East Ridge, a mid-ocean ridge on the Indian Ocean floor named for its near-parallel strike along the 90th meridian at the center of the Eastern Hemisphere. Upon entering the Sea of Sri Lanka this evening, the Yuan Wang 5 must comply with the conditions of maintaining its unique vessel identifier and refrain from conducting any form of research and survey activity in the Sea of Sri Lanka. The Yuan Wang 5 is a third-generation tracking ship of the Yuan Wang series. It has top-of-the-line antennas and electronic equipment to track ballistic missiles and satellites. The Chinese research vessel fleet boasts of twin vessels identified as Yuan Wang 5 and Yuan Wang 6.
Sri Lanka has decided to extend the daily power cuts to 3 hours per day, citing a malfunction at the generator 1 of the Norachole power plant.
The Norachole coal power plant was built by a Chinese firm, China Machinery Engineering Corporation or CMEC, and the total investment of the project was $1.35 billion. The Norachole coal power plant comprises 3 generators and each one generates 300 megawatts with an output of 900 megawatts to the national grid. While a portion of the generated electricity was used for operations at the Norachole coal power plant, one generator could only add 270 megawatts of electricity to the national grid. When generator 1 malfunctioned earlier today, generator 2 was already out of service for essential maintenance. Therefore, the national grid is short of 540 megawatts from the Norachole power plant. The Ceylon Electricity Board in a statement said that it would take approximately 2 weeks to restore operations at the Norachole coal power plant. Electricity engineers suspect that a leak in one of the boilers in generator 1 may be the cause of the malfunction. However, it must also be noted that 45% of the total electricity demand in Sri Lanka is met by the Norachole coal power plant. With 2 generators out of service, one cannot prevent falling into a crisis in meeting the country's demand for electricity. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara said that the West Coast and other fuel power plants will be used to manage the supply.
What we planned for was power cuts for 1 hour and 20 minutes, but we will have to extend the power cuts to 3 hours daily until Friday. It will be divided into 2 groups, 1 hour and 40 minutes during the day and 1 hour and 20 minutes during the night. We hope the issue at the coal power plant will be rectified within a fortnight. We hope to cover the loss of 270 megawatts via fuel power generation. We have the fuel stocks for this purpose, and relevant power plants have already been delivered with the fuel required for generation. Generator 3, which is under repair, is showing positive results. It will be added to the national grid within another month. We hope the power plant will be added to the national grid by the 5th of November.
නොවැම්බර් මාසයේ 5 වෙනිදා පමණ වෙන විට මෙය නැවතත් ජාතික පද්ධතියට ඇතුළු වෙයි කියලා.
A shipment of crude oil reached Sri Lanka at a time when 2 generators at the Norotcholi power plant are out of service, and attempts are being made to purchase electricity from power plants running on furnace oil or diesel. The ship, consisting of 100,000 metric tons of crude oil, has completed initial testing and once unloaded will be supplied to the Sapugaskanda oil refinery to recommence operations. The National Trade Union Centre made a revelation regarding this consignment of fossil fuels, including diesel and petrol, earlier today.
There is a group that makes profits at the expense of the people. These racketeers act as mediators. However, when one vessel arrives, they skim around 4 to 5 million. This is done internationally. On the 29th of July, a cabinet paper was passed to purchase diesel, petrol and crude oil from the United Arab Emirates-based Coral Energy DMCC. The price of a barrel of crude oil is $131.90. Usually, there is a premium per barrel. The internationally accepted rate is $4.50 to $8. When discussions took place with Coral Energy DMCC for the premium of the 280,000 barrel crude shipment, an issue had arisen as they charged $24.50 per barrel. They have charged $16 more than the amount that is charged as a premium internationally. $16.50 a barrel is not a small amount. We are paying an additional amount of $4.6 million as commission for a total of 280,000 barrels. That will increase the price of a fuel litre by 38 rupees. Who is behind these deals? These transactions were approved by a cabinet-appointed tender procurement committee. The public is pumping fuel from filling stations with the greatest difficulty. Authorities are carrying out underhand deals when the people are in crisis. We have copies of emails circulated between the UAE-owned Coral Energy DMCC organization and the authorities. This is the same company that launched a rocket from Sri Lanka. Now you may remember that the rocket was launched by the Rajapaksas. Then they could be very well involved in this deal as well. The same company that sends rockets is now importing oil. $5 million from a fuel shipment is no small play.
There are many families struggling to survive and skipping meals because they are left with no other option. This story is from Mahiyanganaya.
This is the Kovilyaya village in the Mahiyangane region, and this small dwelling covered in tin foil and plastic is home to Sumana Malkanti and her 21-year-old daughter. Despite many hardships, Sumana had a dream of building a home with her husband. However, her dreams were shattered when something unfortunate happened.
ගේ හදන්න ගඩොල් 250ක් විතර ගෙනාව මහත්තයා ඉදෝ එදා මොන හරි කරලා ඒක හිටු බම් මහත්තයා පපුවේ මාරුවදල නැති වුණා. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට ගෙයක් මේ අවුරුදු 10ක ඉඳලා මෙහෙමම තමයි ඉන්නේ. ඔය වයනකොට අපි දැන් නිදාගන්නෙම නැහැ. සද්දාවට තමයි චුට්ටක් නිදාගන්නේ. ආලියේ කියලා බයයි හිතේ.
This single mother does not own any plot of land to even engage in cultivation and does not have a fixed income. She depends on the Samruddhi benefits awarded by the government. Her 21-year-old daughter is not physically fit to engage in any form of employment.
එදා වෙල කන්නේ ඉතින් බොහොම අමාරුවෙන් තමයි උදේට කෑවොත් දවල්ට නෑ කොරයට නෑ. ඉතින් මොහොමනේ තමයි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ අම්මත් අසනීපෙන් මාත් අසනීපෙන් කිසිම වැඩක් කරන්න බෑ. මාත් වැඩක් කරන්න ගියාම මට අසනීපෙනවා.
This mother and daughter duo have one dream and one dream alone. That is for a safe shelter to spend the remainder of their lives.
Sri Lankan farmers decided to cultivate paddy in whatever way possible for this year's Yala harvesting season amid the fertilizer ban, absence of agrochemicals and the spiraling economic crisis. This decision came after they were forced to abandon their cultivations for the previous Maha harvesting season solely due to the government's arbitrary decision on agriculture. Amidst the economic crisis, the farmers of Mahava Regional Secretariat Division, Kohoma Kadavala, Sella Perumagama, Pahalagama, Ihelagama, Pahala Nettipalagama, Polpitigama and Mudiansegama are about to reap their harvests. However, using the relevant machinery to reap the harvest has become a challenge for farmers.
දැන් කොහමද මේක කපා ගන්න තව සතියක් විතර යන්නේ. ඒක කපා ගන්න විදියකුත් නැහැ, තෙලුත් නැහැ, මොකුත් නැහැ. අපි අතෙන් තමයි කපන්න ඕනේ.
ගයන් කපන්න ආතෙන් තමයි. වෙන කපන්න ගන්න. අදලා පා ගන්න නැති වෙනවා. තෙල් නැහැ නේ.
The smell of fresh paddy seeds in the air attracts wild elephants more than usual. Farmers point out that if there is a delay in reaping the harvest, wild elephants could invade their paddy lands and destroy their harvests.
අලින්ගෙන් පහලන්න බෑ කොහොමවත් මේක තමයි ඉතින් අපිට තියෙන එකම උපකරණය මේක තමයි ඉතින් ආරසක මේක තමයි අපේ ජීවිත රකින්නේ ආහාර රකින්නේ කුඹුරු රකින්නේ ඔක්කොම.
The farmers' only request is for fuel required for their machines to be provided as soon as possible.
In more headline-making news, the Ruhunukumari Express train, which is en route from Mathura to Colombo, derailed in Busa this morning. Although the derailment had been rectified by this evening, work on the railway track continues.
The Ruhunukumari Express train had departed the Mathura railway station at 6:05 this morning. The express train is used by office workers and school students, and it derailed approximately at 7:30 a.m. close to the Rajgama train station passing Busa. According to our correspondent, the rear engine of the train had derailed, causing no harm to the passenger carriages situated in front of the train. However, many commuters were inconvenienced due to the derailment. Our cameras captured the damage the derailment had caused to the rear engine as well as the train tracks. The situation led to several scheduled train journeys being cancelled today. The derailed engine was placed back on the tracks at around 5 this evening, and it was moved to the Duramdua train station. Operations are underway to restore the damaged railway tracks. Deputy General Manager of Railways Gamini Seniviratna said his department will attempt to restore train travel along the route as soon as possible. Several incidents of trains derailing were reported in the recent past, with trade unions alleging they are faced with serious issues in terms of maintenance.
Various reasons led to this derailment. There is a need to lay new tracks and get rid of the old ones, but the department does not possess new tracks to carry that out. We are also facing a serious issue because the department does not have lubricants and other spare parts to carry out maintenance activities. There is also a shortage of employees with expertise on maintenance. This has given rise to a risk of train travel crippling. We surmise such derailment can occur in the future as well.
Deputy General Manager of Railways Gamini Seniviratna said the dollar crisis had hampered the Railways Department's ability to import new tracks and equipment required to repair the railway system. Speaking further, he said the tenders called to import new train tracks had also been cancelled, stating that the railway system is growing decrepit daily as a result.
News First with the people.
We'll be back after a short commercial break. Stay with us.
නිවෙස පුරා ගලන මේ සතුට සුරක්ෂිත කරන්නේ Eslon Insight. Eslon ජීවයයි ජලය ජීවිතේ.
Enjoy a highest return for your investments from LB Finance right now. Earn a highest interest rate of 23% for 8 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru, an unparalleled reward for a trusted deposit.
Welcome back to the news. Aragale activist Danis Ali was granted bail by court today.
Aragale activist Danis Ali, who was arrested for unlawfully entering the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation and interrupting its broadcast, was released on bail. Aragale activist Danis Ali was released on a cash bail of 25,000 rupees and 2 personal bails of 500,000 rupees each. The order was made by Colombo Chief Magistrate Nandana Amarasinghe. Aragale activist Danis Ali was produced in court by the Department of Prisons, and the suspect was ordered to visit the Cinnamon Gardens police and provide a statement.
SOPP parliamentarian Vimalavira Disanayake challenged the Aragale activists during a media briefing today.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa told us that the Galle Face was hosting a cultural aragale or struggle. He said the youth were singing and drawing pictures. What is the system change achieved from that? Who looted the president's house and temple trees? Who murdered the late Amarakirti Atukorala? Can those in the aragale deny that his ring was taken off and pawned? Can they deny that the credit cards of his driver's wife were taken to spend 150,000 rupees? I will not contest the elections. Show us the system change that you want to create. I am waiting to see that system change.
system change ඇති කරලා පෙන්නන්න. මං කැමැත්තෙන් ඉන්නවා ඒ system change එක කරන හැටි බලන්න.
නායකයෝ දේශපාලකයෝ ආදර්ශමත් වෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි දැක්කනේ අර පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මයික් එක හදලා දැන් ඒ නීති හැම ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණේ.
ඔය ආන්නේ හොඳයි මේ ඔක්කොම දාන්න නැහැ නිකන් බුරුට කාලේ නිකන් කමන්නේ නැහැ. සහෝදර මාධ්‍යවේදීතුමා ඇමරිකානු කොංග්‍රස් එකේ කීසරක් ගහගෙන තියෙනවා.
අපිට පේනවා දැන් මේ පොදු ජන පෙරමුණත් පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් වෙලා ආයේ අපේ අර පරණ මූණු දෙකක් තියෙනවා හිටපු ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ සහ ජාතික සංවිධායකතුමාගේ බසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාගේ. දැන් ඔබතුමාලා යුවෙන් රාජපක්ෂවරු දැන් නැහැ කියලා හැබැයි එතුමා නැවත කරලියට එන පාටක් තියෙන්නේ නේද?
Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna is another matter altogether. Can anyone control the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna? Let's be honest. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is the leader of the UNP. Dinesh Gunawardena, the Prime Minister, is the leader of the Mahajana Eksat Peramuna. This is not a government led by the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna.
කැබිනට් එකේ බහුතරය පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ.
මට ඔගේ ඇත්ත කියාගන්න විදියක් නෑ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ තේරෙනවා. එළියට බේනවා. ඕවා එහෙම නෑ.
ඒ මොකක්ද ඇත්තටම ඇත්ත?
ඒක බලමුකෝ විශ්ව.
Let's see about that in the future. They came into parliament from our party, but they didn't obtain cabinet postings through Gotabaya Rajapaksa. They got them through Ranil Wickremesinghe. What do you have to say about that?
Ranil Wickremesinghe මහත්තයා. එතකොට මොකද කියන්නේ?
Venerable Omalpe Sobitathera bears the following stance.
The
current president was ascended to that position because of the Aragalaya. He should have learned more lessons than anyone else. However, that does not seem to be the case. He seems to be carrying forward the short-sighted, self-serving political plans his predecessors followed. This includes nepotism surrounding the same politicians and friends. Please stop this. The people launched a struggle because they did not condone the acts of the previous regime. However, the struggle has been stopped forcefully, but the same program is in place. If this continues, a more intense struggle will be born. The president and those around him are only fueling the emergence of a more dangerous struggle. The consequences that struggle will bring about will be far worse than the previous one. While talks regarding an all-party government are ongoing, as the main opposition, the Samagi Jana Balawegaya has proposed 3 names for the post of chairman of 3 parliamentary committees. The names of parliamentarians Eran Vikramaratna and Kabir Hashim have been proposed for the post of chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprise and the Committee on Public Accounts respectively. Further, the SJB has proposed the name of Harsha De Silva to be appointed the chairman of the Committee on Public Finance.
Treasury එකේ මහා බැංකුවේ තියෙන්නේ
1.5 out of the 1.8 billion US dollars that the treasury has are Chinese yuan. Those cannot be converted to US dollars easily. Frankly, the central bank is only in possession of 300 million US dollars at present. We require 500 million US dollars in the least to purchase essentials including food, fuel and medicine. But we only have 300 million in hand. This is the state of our economy. This cannot be resolved by sharing ministerial portfolios or changing heads. We need to find ways to generate dollars.
Sri Lankan independent MP and leader of the Democratic Left Front, Vasudeva Nanekkara, claims that the IMF is the reason for Sri Lanka's crisis.
There are IMF proponents in Sri Lanka, both in the government and the opposition. They are unaware of the destruction the IMF caused to our country. The International Monetary Fund intervened in our affairs 16 times. The conditions of the International Monetary Fund have been placed in Sri Lanka since 1978. The conduct of the IMF has led to Sri Lanka's crisis. Our rupee fell this low because of the IMF. I think every traitor who wants to invite the IMF once more should be thrown into sea.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that a technical development must take place in every sector for the country to recover from the economic crisis. He expressed these views at a party meeting held in Palmadulla yesterday.
එදා රණසිංහ ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමා
Ranasinghe Premadasa started the program to establish 200 garment factories. If that project, which was started in 1989, continued until today, such a social, political and economical collapse would not have taken place. We shall see the program we have introduced. We must go for a technical development in every sector, be it in gem and jewelry industry or small and medium scale industries. A technical improvement must take place.
Biz First.
Global ratings agency S&P Global today slashed its ratings on Sri Lankan bonds to D, representing default following missed interest and principal payments.
S&P said it did not expect the Sri Lankan government, which remains in default on some foreign currency obligations, to make the bond payments within 30 calendar days after their due dates. The ratings agency affirmed its SD long-term and SD short-term foreign currency sovereign ratings on Sri Lanka, as well as reiterated the outlook for the island nation at negative. The country is considering a restructuring of local and foreign debt. It is due to restart bailout talks with the International Monetary Fund in August in the hope of securing $3 billion in funding.
The Tamil National Alliance has issued a statement welcoming the Tamil diaspora that has been delisted from the terrorism list of Sri Lanka.
Parliamentarian and spokesperson of the Tamil National Alliance, M.A. Sumandiran, goes on to say in the official statement of the TNA that the party welcomes the delisting of some of the Tamil diaspora organizations from Sri Lanka's terrorism list. He goes on to note that there are more organizations who are still listed under Sri Lanka's terrorism list and that some of these organizations have been listed without any evidence connecting them to terrorism, and he claims that due process and procedure have not been followed when listing these organizations as terrorist organizations. He went on to note that he urges the government to continue the ongoing process and re-evaluate these organizations and deproscribe all individuals and organizations who ought not to be listed.
The expert committee to study social injustices in the Eastern Province convened a media briefing in Colombo today to report on their findings.
So there were many things which could have been solved, we found as a committee, within the given legal and administrative framework. And we found certain steps, very basic steps, the public officials, if they took, probably could have averted certain injustices faced by these people. Not only the public officials, but we listened to the real parties who were involved in facing these grievances. Sometimes the people came up and met and gave us evidences in reports as to what happened to them. And may I say also that certain such information provided by the stakeholders, we had to re-verify authenticity because there were certain conflicting kind of evidences given. Lastly, the committee, we went and had physical examinations as to what was happening.
The third phase of the Divi Savya program, supported by LOLC Holdings, continues in a bid to help the worst affected by the economic crisis in Sri Lanka.
The program commenced from the Siri Abetissa Mahapiriven in Karandeniya Gaul this morning. On the 10th day of the third phase, essential food packages were distributed to the poverty-stricken families in the Gaul district. The Divi Savya program identifies families that are facing serious issues economically and provides them with much-needed relief packages.
And that's a wrap of primetime news here on News First, where the people come first. For all these stories and much more, you can visit our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. Thank you for joining. Good night.